point is that obviously within this Islamist rhetoric, there are also these grievances of, and look, that you have attacked us, that you have bases in our holy land, that you prop up brutal dictators in our region.
Terrorist groups. Now, more than 500 women, they've been abducted and sold in the flesh trade market of the Islamic State.
Why don't you tell the truth? His complaint is that the United States won't let him be a dictator. The only dictatorship he complains about is those who don't follow his way of faith. He never had a problem with a dictatorship. That's what he wants. His complaint is that the dictatorship must be Islamic.
That you support the Israelis who have ethnically cleansed the Palestinians, that
You probably learned a different meaning to ethnically cleanse, because according to what I learned, it doesn't look like that, or is Israel so bad that the opposite happens? Show me where in history there is such an ethnically cleanse. Ethnically cleanse according to what I learned and according to what history says, it really seems like this. But with ethnically cleanse like this, you have no problem.
Yep. Every time they did it, go look at how they recruited the person.
Listen.
Never read them the Quran. They always said, how do you feel about U.S. foreign policy in the Muslim world? The
word Islam means submission. Surah 3:151, we shall cast terror into the hearts of those who disbelieve, all non-Muslims. Surah 2:191, and kill them, non-Muslims, wherever you find them, kill them. Such is the recompense of the disbelievers, non-Muslims. Surah 9:5, then kill the disbelievers, non-Muslims, wherever you find them, capture them and besiege them, and lie in wait for them in each and every ambush.
But to tell them, no, Islam is a religion of peace, we just create the perfect climate for terrorists to keep on growing. I say otherwise. Our problem is not with the individual, our problem is with the belief system. That humanity and the free world need to unify, as eventually, even though it was too late, the world unified against Nazism. Today, free people need to unify against Islam, not against the Muslim people, against Islam itself as a belief system. When the president of the free world stands and say that Islam is a religion of peace, he creates the climate, he provides the climate, the perfect climate to create more terrorism.
But you say it doesn't come from their religion? They won't do what their religion says if we leave them to do what they want? Are you the expert?
I think what you're dealing with here is that, listen, these are a group of people who have a different way of life than us and a different belief system than us. And I'm not...
Who are those people? It is not these women who are sold for sex or the men who fought to protect them. It is not the people who believe in Islam in a different way that he murdered them. No one chose him to be the ruler of the region. So who are those people you are talking about?
Do you think Osama bin Laden was able to recruit people to be willing to suicide bomb themselves to death because, like, do you think a pretty major factor of that was that maybe they had seen someone who they loved,
well,
you know what I mean,
what started the first
killed?
jihad?
The first jihad?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Islam tried to conquer the world between 622 to 750 CE. The United States and Israel did not exist then. No one harmed them then or tried to conquer them. So why did they do it? It does not fit with what you say. Maybe, just a thought, it's because the Quran tells them to do it. And no matter what you do or change, as soon as they have the power, they try and will try to conquer the world again. And don't forget they murdered people who don't believe in Islam, raped the women, and took slaves. Just like Bin Laden and ISIS did.
If I was born in Gaza in 2006, I would be of fighting age today, and I would have never had any sovereignty whatsoever. I'm ruled by Hamas.
If you lived in Gaza, it means that your family or neighbors chose Hamas to rule over you.
I'm ruled by the IDF. If I go
In 2005, 21 Israeli settlements in the Gaza Strip were unilaterally dismantled and Israeli settlers and the army evicted from inside the Gaza Strip. The settlers who refused to accept government compensation packages and voluntarily vacate their homes prior to the August 15, 2005, deadline were evicted by Israeli security forces over a period of several days. 8,000 Jewish settlers from the 21 settlements in the Gaza Strip were relocated. So you were not under Israeli control. Of all those who cry over the wall between Gaza and Israel, you have no right to it. You are the ones who want the United States to close its border. Gaza has a border with the Egyptians, but the Egyptians do not allow them to work in Egypt. Egyptians are not willing to supply electricity to Gaza and are not even willing to let food pass through their border. Since when does a country have to provide another country with these things? Does the United States have to provide these things to Mexico?
go too close to the border, I get shot. I would be a complete lunatic.
What are you talking about? Most countries in the world will shoot you if you pass a certain point that is close to the border, especially if they have a border with an enemy.
American ships were being attacked by the North African Barbary states. Jefferson and Adams, many other U.S. Agents were like, yo, we got no problem with you guys. Why are you consistently attacking our ships? And you know what the response was? Our religion says we're allowed to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But
so he said, if that's what you're going to do, I am going to raise a navy and I will wipe you out.
And it was probably a big mistake, by the way.
What? I heard right? You say it was a mistake to wipe out pirates who wanted ransom from American ships, or they would kidnap the sailors and steal the goods. Is that what you just said?
By the way, the French and the British had forever just been paying those pirates off, paying the ransom, and I think he ended up spending a lot more money on it than if he had just paid them off, so people died and he wasted a lot of money. I'm not saying...
You are the reason terrorists kidnap people. You are the one who will shout to pay them and not fight them. Only what you forgot to say is that all this stopped when England and France started conquering Africa and the Middle East, so they paid the ransom all these years and finally also paid for their war.
Overwhelmingly, they said, who would you like to rule you under a League of Nations mandate? And overwhelmingly, Syria voted for the United States of America. So this narrative that they hate us because we're free is really not very true. In fact...
Do you realize you are ruining what you say? They wanted the control of America in order to be free, but America said no, and in the end, they got a king who did not give them freedom. And you don't think they're mad that you're free and they're not?
When we were viewed as the ones who weren't the imperialist force, remember, this is World War I, okay? They were like, America, the city on the hill that's all about freedom and doesn't intervene in our part of the world. We love those guys. Like, they had nothing but a positive feeling about those guys. And likewise, early on, if you read the early Zionist writers, they were not like, they didn't consider the Arabs to be an enemy. So
even today, they do not consider the Arabs as enemies. Arabs are not only Muslims. The terrorists are the enemies. Those who want the elimination of Israel and the Jews are the enemies. No one said Arabs. There are Arab Jews. It just shows how much you don't know what you're talking about. You meant the Palestinians, but then there was no such thing. Before the name changed that the British did, even the Muslims called the area Judah, the house of David, and Samaria, the other tribes of Israel. Judea and Samaria.
Issue though,
Possibly.
up until there was decades of interference into the Middle East, they weren't actually trying to get us to convert.
Do you want me to repeat their attempt to conquer the world and make it Muslim before we discovered America?
As if it's not actually listed. He does.
No, I agree. It is listed.
Okay.
There's two sections: the ideological and physical attacks, as well as we not converting to Islam.
Right.
But the Islam,
Those are the two main grievances.
what I'm taking.
It's like saying a rapist said he was a rapist because he has no money. When he says he's poor and hates women.
The question is simply this: would Osama bin Laden are you arguing that he only attacked us because of U.S. foreign policy?
Yes.
Let me say,
I think he would not have. I don't think he would have had the capacity to attack us if not for the radicalization that happens
probably a
because
psychopath.
of our sanction regime.
he was a psychopath.
You are really stupid. Sorry, but there is no other word for it. As I have shown before, Muslims were trying to conquer the world before the discovery of America. And if you think a religious fanatic needs a reason to attack someone who is not of his religion, you don't know history.
Because he's
Section
saying, I have tried to have civil conversation. Y'all don't listen to us. You.
Yes. Listen to us, let us rape and murder, and you must become Muslims with Sharia law or you are our enemies. That's what he says. The problem is that Tim does not know what is happening or happened in the Middle East, so when those who come to his program to tell fairy tales, he could not respond to them. He is also too nice. When someone lies, I call him a liar to his face. If he does not want to talk to me anymore, that is his problem.